Okay, so if I just do a quick check with my speakers, Paulius and Lubomir, if I get a thumbs up, are you seeing the screen? Okay, so welcome everyone. My name is Anthony Barringer. I'm head of marketing at S-Pro here in Zurich. Today, joining me is our CTO Lubomir, as well as one of our partners from CEE Attorneys, Paulius, and we're going to talk to you all about agentic AI in enterprise. A lot of hype out there, but what is the actual reality in terms of legal compliance, architectural requirements, and more? So we'll get started today, tell you a little bit about ourselves, about our companies. After that, I'll hand over to Paulius for jumping in about agentic AI and enterprise from a legal perspective. From there, we'll hand over to Lubomir for more of the architectural requirements of agentic AI and what it takes to really fully implement it. Afterwards, I will jump on and give you a bit of a live demo with Claude Code, show you how far AI-assisted coding has come and how easily it can be used for rapid prototyping. To just give you a little bit of a taste of a use case today for agentic AI. After that, I'll explain a bit what's different from true software development and simply rapid prototyping with AI. And at the end, as mentioned, we'll have time for questions with any of our experts from the webinar today. Okay, so a little bit about us. And for this, I will actually hand over the word to Lubomir and Paulius. So Lubomir, if you'd like to introduce yourself very quickly.
Yeah, thank you, Anthony. So my name is Lubomir. I'm CTO as Pro. I'm in the industry almost 20 years, give and take. And these days, the AI is a big topic, and today we will open up, and my section will be a little bit technical, and I hope you will like it. So looking forward to hear your questions and comments. Thank you. Paulius?
Yeah, hi guys. Thanks for to everyone for joining. Really cool to be joining here as well. So just a quick note about myself. So, well, by trade, I am a lawyer. I've been one for 14 years already and been practicing law in the intellectual property and technology fields for a long time. I also practiced with entertainment industry, so there's a lot of IP there and copyright, and of course spent a lot of time as well in-house and as well as from an outside counsel point of view with tech companies. So basically, yeah, I'm the COO of CEE Attorneys Lithuania, an international law firm. We're spanning around 7 countries in Europe, and yeah, we're dealing with all sorts of legal from all sorts of legal aspects, helping businesses grow. It's a B2B legal law firm, legal services, and we have a big emphasis on technology and e-commerce. So, and I will tell you a bit more about that in my section, but we're also building legal tech solutions. So we're quite delved into the AI, agentic AI, build up as well. So yeah, looking forward.
Great. Thank you, gentlemen. With that, Paulius, I'm going to hand over control of the screen to you. So let's keep this going.
Sure. Okay. Let's see if it works. And wait a second. Not quite yet, I guess. Oh, this was me, right? Okay, this is cool. Yay, it works. Okay, guys. So I don't have a lot of time, so like I was thinking about what to bring to the table from the legal aspect, or to go a bit wider, and I decided to not be the lawyer in the panel, so to speak, that tells everyone what to do and what not to do. Basically, more often what not to do. So I'm not that guy. I'm not against AI. I'm pro AI guy, but especially as we as a firm are building our own AI systems and our own agentic end-to-end software. So basically, yeah, we've done that. We've built a niche product for like monitoring online space and finding infringements of intellectual property. So we dealt pretty deeply into the AI itself. So one thing that like resonates with me most is that for enterprises that are actually trying to, or even like doing it and done it, implementing AI into their own operations, is that, well, the risk, right? It's that the R word. The risk doesn't start when the system fails, right? It starts when it works, and basically that is why that's like because. We do not see a lot of things like how AI actually works in this ecosystem, right? In the business. So I'm gonna be emphasizing this a lot. That knowledge and understanding how your AI system works is basically the fundamental thing to do when implementing AI into the enterprises, right? Into the companies. So yeah, let's try and switch the slide. Somehow it's now again it's oh, there you go. Okay, so basically, right, when we're talking about agentic AI in the enterprise, we're talking about IP ownership, right, risks, accountability, like compliance with regulations, and a lot of more of that. But that's like that's an in-depth view from the legal perspective, and I don't want to like delve into this too much. So I'm gonna start off a bit well, further from a bit further perspective, right? So basically, right now, what we're thinking about agentic when we're thinking about agentic AI, we're thinking about well, some sort of automation, right? Smart workflows, assistance, and of course efficiency. That is what businesses actually think when they're thinking about agentic AI. But to be fair, I think we all know that automation is not a new thing. And to be precise, automation started off like in the modern day, even in the 1920s with the automotive industry, and then was evolved in the 1960s, right? When the mechanical robot arms actually was swapped from human, manual labor on the assembly lines of the automotive industry. So basic automation is not new, but the agentic AI systems, those are completely different things. And to be fair, what that means that these systems, when we're talking about agents, AI agents, they actually become the decision makers and the data gateways, right? And well, the system operators and value generators, so to speak. So basically, whether we like it or not, we're handing some sort of decisions to the systems themselves. When we ask the system to write an email for you, or automate some sort of task for you, basically we do delegate the decision making of some sort to the system. And data, also the data, what we feed to the system, what the system is actually able to view and interact with, is also very, very important in terms of from cybersecurity to personal data protection. So basically, when we're integrating our agentic AI systems into the enterprise, we do need to understand these risks. And actually, not so long ago, I was participating in this conference, and one entrepreneur was speaking, and he mentioned that like he has built his company with AI, like. He launched products, he made marketing, everything with AI, and then started doing the same for his clients, right? So, and basically, it is all of that company building and all of those operations were done like through Claude, basically through Claude Code and other Claude workflows. But basically, when he was asked, that it's not me that asked him that, but basically he was asked about security issues, right? What don't you like? Do you not fear about data protection and leakage of personal data and other relevant data to like bad actors? He basically said that he does not think about it. So that's one way to go about it. But we need to be aware of those risks, although that's not a beautiful word, but the risks are there and they're real. So we need to be sharp regarding those, because we need to understand that AI, your tool that you're using, your AI does not like actually own anything, right? The model is not yours, right? The data is also a mixture. It's not a clean data usually, although regulations such as EU AI Act, that is also not in full force yet, also talks about data a lot, right? Somehow it just slipped, I guess. About the data a lot, but also that the clean data is another thing. I cannot actually control my slides anymore. Oh yeah, okay. Something I think slipped a bit, right? Yeah, thank you. Yeah. If we can like okay, go one. Okay, great. So basically, we need to be aware of those things when we're implementing our like, AI systems into our enterprise operations. And another thing that is also very very serious is the accountability of the system themselves. Like if we're implementing several agents to do some sort of work, right, to deliver the result to you as a owner. So we have one agent retrieving data, retrieving information, other processing, and the third executing some actions, and then the human is the oversight, has the oversight function, right? And again, the regulation as well emphasizes the human oversight as a non-negotiable part. So basically, we as humans, we need to oversee the operations that AI is integrated in. But how can we do that if we do not understand them and if we do not know how AI is actually how does AI actually work in our organization, right? The policies themselves, right, and the documentation and everything is not like what actually institutes the safe enterprise, right? When we're integrating AI. So basically, policies does not mean enforcement, right? Because the policies can be in place and we still would not like enforce it. Documentation does not mean that we see where the AI is how AI is working and where AI is like implemented and what like actions is it taking, right? Because AI is dynamic and the governance, whether it be enterprise level, right, the governance within the enterprise itself, or even the governance from regulatory perspective, like the EU AI Act, that is also not in force fully, right? This summer will be the time that it will come into force, but basically still not in force fully. So the governance always lags, and that's kind of okay, but we need to take those risks then into consideration when we're actually doing something with AI and implementing it into our own enterprises. Next slide, if you would. So basically, these are the layman terms of what winning teams do, like the bit of motivation, right? So actually, when we're like implementing AI into our own organizations, we need to think about how we structure it, right? So we need to structure the infrastructure itself like AI would be not a tool, but it would be part of the infrastructure. We need to design for visibility and not assumptions, that we need to know what the system is actually doing, and we need to define ownership roles, right, before the deployment, as well as build the accountability into the architecture itself. Why I'm saying this? Because these are the practical framework. These are the practical points and practical framework how we should actually implement the AI into our enterprise to be compliant from the legal perspective as well. Because as I mentioned, having policies only is not the way to go, right? For example, I have this very cool example regarding accountability. I don't have a lot of time left, so I'm just gonna tell you because there's a lot of case law already involving AI decisions or AI assisted decisions made, right? And the accountability of the company, because we need to understand that not an agent A or an agent B or agent C would be accountable for mistake or for damage. That would be us, the human oversight, right? Or the company itself. So for example, there was this case in Canada last year. I'm not sure, maybe you've heard of it because it was quite famously, outreached. So basically there is the the Air Canada case. The Air Canada that had implemented their LLM model to their website to help people shop for their flights. And basically, the Air Canada itself has a policy when you're flying to a funeral, they actually reimburse you for the flight. That means that you're flying free, right? And there was a guy who was actually flying to a funeral, and he wanted to be reimbursed. And prior to the flight, he asked the LLM of the Air Canada, how should I proceed with this? Should I buy tickets and fly have a two-way flight and just then present you the tickets and say that please reimburse me, or should I inform the airlines prior to that? And the LLM said that no worries. You just buy tickets, you just fly, you just return, you submit those tickets to the to the contacts listed, and they will reimburse you. And he asked if they really, really, it's all good, right? So that man, he flew both sides, and he returned to he was returning with his flight, and he submitted the tickets to the airlines, and the airline said that nope, this is not our policy. You should have read the policy. And the policy stated that you need to inform the airlines prior to your flight, because they will give you special tickets. And he said that, come on, but your LLM said that I can fly and then submit the tickets. And the airlines did not want to actually reimburse this guy, so he went to court. And we have a court decision in regards to 800 Canadian dollars, around 800 Canadian dollars, that said that of course the accountability is falls upon the company that implemented the AI and not the AI system, because the Air Canada argued that the AI is responsible. The AI gave the bad advice, and so the AI should be the AI maybe developer should be responsible for that, and even argued that AI is the AI itself is a separate legal entity. That was absurd, of course. But basically, we have that case law, and there's a lot of practice coming in regarding accountability. Also, the ownership of intellectual property rights, right? Because the input and the output, we always need to look at the terms and conditions in terms of use of the systems themselves. Because from my practice, as we work with a lot of tech companies and a lot of IT companies, and actually the developers of AI as well. And I've seen a lot of terms of use that actually, it instigated that intellectual property is automatically licensed to the developer itself, right? License. So that means that the input and the output can be used at their own demise. So basically, those are also the corner cases here. I know that Claude, for example, has a different approach, but still, I've looked into the terms and conditions of, for example, of the Claude LLM, and it also stated a bit shady about the intellectual property rights. So basically, we need to be aware of these risks when we implement the AI into our organizations and into our operations. So let's remember to look at the AI implementation as an infrastructure arrangement and not just a individual tool use. Unless we're using it for the chat function and that's it, and we're not feeding any data to it. So basically, that's my 2 cents, really short and quick 2 cents on the topic, because we could go into deep dive into this from the legal perspective, but I think everyone here would like to hear from the tech guys next.
Thank you, Paulius. It was very interesting and educating, and I think it is a very good bridge for my section. Today, I'm going to talk about, in general, what does it mean agentic and assisting AI work in enterprise landscapes, and what are the typical, let's say, high-level use cases that we have and we can introduce into our company. The second, I will discuss a little bit about AI readiness from data perspective. And finally, I will touch this safety and security point, which is a massive concern for people around, from technical all the way, as you can see, to legal. So I suggest we go to the next slide. And here we have this agentic and assistant AI. And I wanted to talk a little bit about challenges that typically the company will have and having, I think, these days when AI is becoming their reality. First of all, we might need to make sure as a technical people that whenever we introduce those business cases or business use cases of AI and integrate them into our ecosystem, they do not disturb the current work. They augment, they speed up, they make that process better, faster, more qualitative, but not disrupting of the day-to-day work, which is, regular concern on meetings of implementations. We also need to make sure, as it was clearly stated even with this case of Air Canada, that some actions and some recommendations, especially when they are actionable, needs to be assisted with a human, and actual liability will fall on the employee rather than faceless machine, because machines make mistakes, and this is more than ever in AI era important. And finally, of course, we all need to make sure that our business secrets and competitive data and all of that doesn't leak out, as well as we are not falling victims of the bad actors that might target our ecosystem. So first of all, we all have those use cases, and use cases are, of course, AI assisted. So basically, we can call it co-piloting and then autopiloting what they are doing on our behalf, embedding into the applications where applications are becoming a little bit smarter. And of course, the conversational AI, we just, we started with those, right? We integrate with our data sources, or the operational systems, all those ERPs and CRMs of the world, by introducing the platform, the AI platform that would ingest the data from the systems, and we need to make sure that this data will be governed properly, so we ingest it in a secure manner, so it doesn't really teach or expose information from our sources that are sensitive and not trainable and not intended for training. And it is very important component of safety, but as well as, of course, the ingestion of this process of the data. Another aspect that it is these days we are talking about multi-agent environments where a lot of agents are doing different things. The general recommendation is, of course, to segregate planning activities, execution activities, and human-in-the-loop activities into different components so they can control each other, so-called competing agents or controlling agents of each other. That, to some extent, can prevent a lot of mistakes prior the human will take control and finally make up the final decisions. And of course, we need to monitor our systems. So this, what is getting into the system, flagging with, let's say, what would agent do and what would human do, and learning from those experiences. This is, of course, must-haves and incorporating into our AI implementation strategy. And if you can go to the next slide, where we will talk again briefly about AI data readiness. We all come from the organizations where we have all of those operational environments. Some of us having quite a significant and robust data warehouses, but also we come from places where data are quite scattered across the world, data centers of our organization, and we need to make sure that we unify all of those into one, let's say, into one knowledge layer. Another aspect of us, we all know that some data might not be of the best quality. For instance, operationally speaking, some information is not necessarily mandatory, but when we are making up those decisions with AI instruments and AI toolings, all of a sudden, some factors that were not that necessary are becoming necessary. And this is an intention of data preparedness. And as I mentioned before, it is important to have this sensitivity tagging. We need to understand that not all the information is open for everyone, and we need to make sure that we have flagging, including access rights. We will talk a little bit about that in the next slides about security and safety. Important component upon implementation of this readiness is to identifying business owners of data sources and those in the organization that we can actually reach out and ask those questions about data sensitivity and data quality. So they would have their personal and say stakeholders' interest to make sure that data exposed to the AI is, of course, safe and usable. Of course, on top of that would sit the different types of ingestion approaches with batches, with changes, ingestion, streaming, and others. And then we all know about ETLs. We know about this vector databases that they're making our knowledge, let's say, AI friendly. But another component that I would rather also mention that is important, that at this layer, it is important to understand the relation between these massive data sources, or let's call it knowledge graph. For instance, there are some information that are sourcing information, and some information might be derivative information, basically implying from the source information. It is important to highlight that in this knowledge graph because it makes our pros and cons proper. I mean, our AI can infer these pros and cons easily and will not do unnecessarily mistakes. All right. And finally, I would like to talk about one of the most, let's say, within our session, important point on the next slide about AI safety and security. As it was properly mentioned, we need to make sure that our agents have their own non-human identities, because this is how we can identify and apply authentication or proper rights access, depending on the type and purpose of an agent's actions. Second, we need to make sure that whatever access this agent have, they will fall into that we will have a proper access for proper agents. It is not the same as humans access, but very similar, obviously. But the similar, let's say, approach is applicable right here. We need to make sure that whatever gets into our knowledge base is sanitized in and out. Because when we put public information, that is a backdoor, possible backdoor for bad actors, as well as sometimes we might expose information that is not necessarily open and good to do. So the monitoring of prompts are important. I will not go into the technical details, which are on the slide, but because they are very contextual related on environment. To sum it up, first of all, many things. So first of all, we need to rely on proper data and data platform on which the agents and our AI environment will sit on. Even on that area, we think about security, about filtering on sensitive information that are not supposed to be exposed. We think about agents and segregate the roles of those agents, and we make sure that those that plan are not necessarily executors. And then, of course, we will have the human in the loop to make sure that important business on liable and legally bounding decisions would be still responsible on the person, because this is how we can make sure that that AI will not make a mistake. It is AI. It can hallucinate, and we need to remember it all the time. And of course, we need to make sure that we do not expose or we sanitize or we filtrate or we look into all those prompts that are getting all the way to the user, and build up the final level of protection where we scan the data streams or prompt streams upon the sensible information. Very high level to some extent. We will not go into technical details, but they are very much dependent on the context of the organization. Back to you, Anthony.
Okay. So in the essence of time, because I want to make sure you all have enough time to ask your questions to our experts, I did a little pre-work here. For those of you not familiar with this Claude Code interface, it's very similar to Claude Chat or ChatGPT or any other LLM where you have really natural language interaction. You can talk to it just like you do when you're talking to ChatGPT. So again, you don't need to be an engineer. You don't need to be an architect to understand coding language. It's really straightforward, just like you would use any other LLM. So for today's demo purposes, I'm wanting to build an agentic knowledge finder with a very simple architecture. And so I've pasted in kind of my prompts here. The purpose for this is to show you how you can quickly use Agentic AI to rapidly prototype. This is something we're doing at SPRO with a lot of clients and prospects when it comes to validating business ideas. It is just one use case. Obviously, you can go into much more detail with more time. Hence, if you are interested in kind of more of a deep dive, please reach out to us and we'll be happy to organize such a session. But for today, we're going to build an agentic knowledge finder. The idea is build me something that new employees can use to answer questions. Imagine you've just joined a very large organization. You've gotten 100 different onboarding documents. There's a Confluence instance. There's an online intranet. There's all sorts of different places for information, and you as a new employee don't know where to start. This could be something that a company could have that makes it a bit easier for their employees who are starting. So at first, how I started is I did a very simple architecture layout. What are you going to be doing? What's the flow? After that, I wrote in to define the agent's role, telling it, this is what you need to be doing. Read a set of internal documents, answer the questions, use a bit of reasoning. I also need to give it a knowledge base. So for today's purposes, I simply created a folder on my local desktop with some mock documents that we can use, but this can obviously connect to Confluence, connect to Google Drive, to any external knowledge base, and pull information from there. Obviously, you'll need some API keys if that was the case, but for today's scenario, we kept it simple. So with that, I've told it to auto accept the edits. Let's start. So now it's going to be thinking a bit. Some things may pop up. You guys will see kind of how it works. It's also showing on the right how many tokens it's using. As it says, it's already at the first question, it's kind of checking, hey, are these the documents? I found this on your desktop. Yes, I want to allow it to use that. It's obviously also letting me know a bit not to overly share my API key. So thank you very much, Claude. I appreciate you being a safeguard here for me, but I gave permission to use it here. Now we see it's already created a to-do list. It's already reading the documents that I told it to use. Yeah, so here it's checking these the documents. Yep, those are the 5 documents. Always allow for this project. I want it to be able to pull from there. And so you can see everything that it's doing in terms of the build. Now, obviously, I'm not a technical expert. I'm not understanding exactly what it is telling me here, what it's doing, but it does ask me in very simple, natural language, can I do this? Am I allowed to access the documents? Here's the checklist. It also shows me how long and how many tokens the current tasks are taking. So, for about 1 minute and 30 seconds, it's been working. It's already used 1.5 thousand tokens. For reference, that's still very little. 1 token, I believe, is about 0.0002 cents. So again, obviously the cost of working with an agentic AI coding tool is much lower than if you need to pay a senior developer. And when it comes to building rapid prototypes, it's something that the AI can do really well. I'll jump into it later that obviously this is not going to be a production ready solution that we're making. This is a very quick, let's say, proof of concept or MVP. As I said, a rapid prototype to validate the idea of such a knowledge finder, let's say. Claude's already building the front end, so very soon we should have something that we can see. We're about 2 minutes in. It's getting quite close to having something that we can use. For reference, the interaction that you have with an AI coding tool such as Claude here, it's going to be very simple if you do this in Codex, which is OpenAI's version, even in Lovable. It's all very similar. It all relies on natural language. Here and there you might see some slight differences. You can even work with such a tool in a more classic inline editing tool like Zed. So if you come more from an engineering background or like such a development environment more, you can easily connect any Agentic AI with your classic coding tool. All right, so now we see here on the preview, already I have something. So in about 3 minutes, maybe a bit more, and some clever prompting on my part, I already have my knowledge finder. And it is still building a few things, testing a few things. You can see here it has some kind of common frequently asked questions. There's even a section where I can ask my own. It's still building, so it wasn't quite ready. We'll give it a few more minutes. It's smart enough that you see when it kind of finds an issue, it creates its own workaround. So apparently the PDF parsing seemed to be some type of compatibility issue, so it's fixing that. Yes. Seems to have found a solution for the PDF, so I'm telling it go ahead. We definitely want those documents in there. All right, so I'm just going to tell it for now to not include the PDFs if they are causing issues. So again, at any time I could jump in and let it know, hey, you need to do something different. Perfect, it's found a solution. It's going to just embed all 5 document texts directly in the file. And so now we should be working. Let's refresh it here. Not quite. All right. In the meantime, if you do have any questions, feel free to still drop them in the Q&A. We'll get to them in just a moment. I see that we have 3 there. All right, it's previewing the start. So I'm wondering if we're going to be able to. All right, this looks like not yet. All right, let's see if we're working yet. So now we're showing the knowledge base. So here's the 5 documents that it has. So I just asked it, what is the remote work policy? Now we can see it's already working. It's going through, it's reasoning and generating the answer for me. Still checking the documents. So here we go. The answer was Remote days allowed up to 3 days per week. And it gives a full detail from all the documents, even reference the different documents that it was found. It gives some gaps, so it shows if there's things that are missing. So it went on a bit further and, it found some gaps in the knowledge base. It also saw there was no conflicts though. So there was some missing information, but there was no contradictions. There was no two documents saying two different things. So there you have it. In about 10 minutes, give or take, and some prompting, we built our knowledge finder using 5 documents. And that's how easy it can be. So again, this is not something that's necessarily production ready. You still need to review the code, probably do some bug checks and things like that. But if you have an idea, AI tools such as Claude Code are a great way to quickly mock something up, show your boss, show your investors, and yeah, go from there. Okay, then coming back to the main session, thank you all for joining us today. And as promised, we have now a little time for Q&A. So I'm going to jump to the Q&A module and going to read the first question. So can you walk us through your prompts? So yes, Beth, before I had created different prompts, basically telling it kind of what to do. So I basically made a project plan and turned that into prompts. I started with the architecture, showing very high level what it should be doing and the steps that it should take. And then for each steps, I gave it a bit more context. You could also do this one by one. You could start with the architecture, and in that case, Claude Code would come and probably ask some more clarifying questions. Hey, where can I find the documents? What type of interface are you looking for? Is there any specific UI? So on and so forth. In the effort of time, I just combined them all into one big one, and it sped things up a little bit. But the idea is you really want to walk through the prompts kind of as steps. Think of talking to Claude Code as being like a junior developer. So you're telling them very specifically, hey, I want you to do this, then make it do this, then make it do this. I hope that answered the question correctly, Beth. All right, so another question I see, where does the app sit on your computer only? So here, yes, for the demo purposes, this was completely local. I downloaded the Claude Code app. It was on my local machine. I had a local folder with the mock documents in it to use. I simply used my API key from Claude Code so that it could use the LLM feature and that it could connect there. That was the last step that I put in. I could have had it work without that, but it would have been less, let's say, agentic in its reasoning. It would have just given me more straight answers from the documents. And here I allowed it to open up its thinking a bit. So to answer your question, for the demo purposes, local, obviously this is something you could connect outside to different systems as well. All right, I have a question from an anonymous attendee. If we wanted to create an enterprise-specific ontology, how would we need to architecture it underneath this knowledge base, for example? I'm going to hand that off to Lubomir to answer. Lubomir, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, look, so basically these days we have 2 ways that are having different specifics and different, let's say, purpose to connect to your systems and its data. First, which we can use, including it's called MCP server. Of course, this is only for data that you can fetch as if you are calling an API. With this mechanism, of course, we can also instrument the actions. So it's not necessarily the knowledge of enterprises, but it's also actions. You can connect with that. You can connect with MCP with operational data, with very volatile data. Now when we're talking about information that has a rather high level of stability, knowledge bases, internal memos, regulations, all of that, you might want to build up the rack system that is usually stored in the vector databases. All the contemporary database servers servers and services in all the hyperscalers, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, all of them, they provide you vector databases. That is essential component for that knowledge base. And on top of that, you would build up the knowledge graph that would rather orchestrate and explain for better rationale how to understand your different data sources, because essentially that vector database is in all terms rather like a warehouse, which would require with some sort of a frequency which you fit it necessarily to keep this data up to date. It's not live data, obviously, but it could be, it could be automated within some sort of a time lag. So 3 components to repeat. First, for fast changing data, MCP and actions, it's MCP service. For knowledges with rather stable or rare updates, that would be a rack system underneath vector databases. And also for better understanding of the context, building up the knowledge graph that explains the relation between them. They have a special database graph database type of systems.
Thanks, Lubomir. I received a question directly to me via the chat, and I'm guessing this is actually for Paulius. So Paulius, you had mentioned the Air Canada case previously. Have there been any such landmark rulings in Europe or let's say outside of North America that are shaping what's going on in our EU market right now?
Basically, landmark cases at the moment from accountability point of view. So I would not say there has been any, but there has been, several cases even prior to this, to these AI developments in the past 2 years, so to speak. There has been actually cases where AI has been used, for example, in governmental institutions in Netherlands to actually scan and profile people for getting their getting their benefits from like social benefits, like unemployment benefits, credit scores. So basically governmental institution was starting to use AI to actually assess these people and not inform them. So basically there was a local national court decision so that this is not possible to do. So that's one point of view, that is not legal to use AI on unsuspecting users, and of course there's been more of those kind of cases, but they're a little bit more less big than in the US, to be fair. And I think that's because we do have although it's not enforced fully, the EU AI Act, but still it is enforced, and it will be enforced in this summer. So basically there's less, court cases. But of course, if we look into for example, more fragmented approaches to AI, so as I mentioned, intellectual property rights on one end, right? So there has been a massive load of cases, not even in the US, but also in Europe, for example, regarding copyright, right? Copyrighted works that has been inputted, trained on from the OpenAI and Anthropic and etc. So basically, there's been there already are court cases and court decisions regarding that actual developers of AI cannot be using these models without compensating authors, for example, right? Literature authors or lyrics authors. So basically, and those kind of cases are evolving. So we have a few decisions in Germany specifically. Now there's escalation going on with the global labels, but this is in terms of copyright. So I mean that what I want to say that it's expanding in that point of view as well. There has been these cases, and of course there will be more cases in more expanded, field. But but basically North America is the motherlode of interesting cases regarding AI at the moment.
I can only imagine. Yes, it's a bit of a wild west still in general, and it's very fast moving. What's going on today is already outdated by tomorrow, it seems sometime. All right, we have time for one last question. So I see there's 2. I'm just going to pick the one that I see the name with. So Dylan, asks, and I think I'm going to direct this one to Lubomir as well. He was curious, what LLM do you find to be the most cost-effective while maintaining a high-quality level of work, especially when it comes to agentic workflows?
This is an interesting and, to be honest, not a simple question to answer. And predominantly because the updates to the models are happening every single week. So in our organization, that I can say, we are really working with anthropic models mostly. I'm not saying they are good for everything, but for development purposes, I think they are one of the best. Personally, I have Sonnet or Opus from time to models that I use. What we also know that this massive models from public providers, they might be a bit better within some context. For instance, as you mentioned here, Gemini and their most recent models are good because they are capable of storing larger contexts. But as I said, everything is changing. We also noticed, for instance, at some project we used open AI models for visual, let's say, work, very specific projects about where we generate pictures and stuff. As I said, it's very much depending how you basically communicate with it, and the models are updating quite often. So I would rather stay on, let's say, read what they have to say based on their recent releases. Unfortunately, these days when it's everything changed, or fortunately, I'd rather say, this is really, tomorrow maybe other models will be better than Anthropic's models for development. We'll see.
Okay, thanks, Lubomir. Thank you again to everyone who joined us. We used up the full hour. Thanks for bearing with us with the slight hiccup that we had earlier. Thanks to our speakers, Paulius and Lubomir, for taking time out and giving two very different perspectives on agentic AI, from legal to technical. I wish everyone a good day. If you're looking to learn more, maybe have a deeper dive into AI coding tools yourself, or you have any legal questions related to AI and what it's producing, reach out to any of us on LinkedIn. You should find our information online, and we'd be happy to take any of your questions. With that, I wish you a good day, and hopefully we'll hear from you soon.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.